Welcome back to the Blue Chip Breakdown, Vols fans. Tough loss, man. 85-81. Our Vols go out there and drop one to the Kentucky Wildcats. I mean, we definitely fought hard at the end, but we're going to kind of go through everything. And just overall, though, you know what I'm saying? Just like on the bright side of all of this, what I like is that we showed that we can step up in these key moments. We saw DK drop 40. Okay. We said that he would go over 40 points. We saw ZZ, he showed that he can be a shutdown guy on defense. He made some big shots. I think that Triple J, I think he played with a whole lot of confidence. Kind of feel like Santi disappeared, but overall, I feel like we did a lot of good things that says, hey, this team is ready for the tournament, which is what really matters at the end of the day. Okay. Kentucky comes in, they give us the best game that they've played. What? I mean, definitely this entire season. This is one of the best performances that they've had in a long time. They're definitely, in tournament mode, but it took everything that they had to be able to scratch and claw to be able to beat us. So I'm very proud of the way that we performed out there. But I do want to go on ahead and just, I guess pull up some of these stats and all of that good stuff. And Pete won't be joining us today, or he won't be joining us right now. He was on here earlier, but we're going to pull this up, okay? Because we got to go through all the stats. Like we said, 85-81. And man, this daggum guy, number 15, who was that? Was that Shepard? Drops 27 on us. I mean, it seems like he couldn't miss. He made a whole lot of very tough, tough contested shots. And whenever something like that happens, you pretty much just have to like tip your hat to him, right? I mean, that was not easy. I feel like we was playing pretty good defense for the most part on him. But he was just pretty much unconscious. And I feel like we kept them in check for the most part. Their season average, I think, is like 87 points or something like that. We held them to 85. So that's something to be happy about. This is a team that I think is going to go far in the tournament. And I'm talking about Kentucky. I feel like we will as well. If y'all just tuning in, okay, if you missed what I said earlier, I still feel like we are a tournament Final Four, potential still national championship type of a team. A couple of things that we have to get cleaned up. And this is why, to me, this is not the worst loss in the world. I think that if we were going to lose, this might have been one of the best times to do it. Now, one of the biggest questions is going to be once bracketology, once all that stuff starts to come out, are we still going to be a number one seed? I think it really depends on what Arizona does. And we'll kind of get into all of that later on. But let's take a look at what all of our players did. Okay. So Jonas Adu with 11 points. I think that there were some times when he stepped up and he played with some strength. He played hard. He played like a dog. We've talked about this several times. He has got to play like a dog down there in the paint. A couple of times he got embarrassed letting Kentucky block his shot because he's going up there for, layups. We saw Meshack do that as well at the end. And I think that one, that goaltending call that happened after the refs missed their guy going out of bounds, which I saw that live. I said, man, he's out of bounds. Why aren't they calling it? I think that goaltender was kind of a makeup call, but we'll take it, right? I feel like after they made up for it, that ended up kind of, evening things out. But I just feel like we've got to try to finish with more force. I don't understand this. And P and I, we talk about this sometimes, but we don't, we didn't play basketball like that. So we don't understand the soft-hearted mentality in some aspects of the game. Why not just dunk it? Why are we laying it up, especially when there's traffic? Like, why would we, what are we trying to be cute for? Slam it down. We got to play. We got to do a whole lot more of that. So, anyway, on to DK. Okay. He shot 14 of 29. I think that might be 50%. That's close to it for 40 points. Okay. So, he finally broke the 39-point mark. So, we're definitely proud of him for that. I love the way he stepped up and continued to shoot. But one of the biggest things that we've talked about with DK and we'll talk about with a lot of the guys on this team is that it's very difficult for us to play man defense versus guys that can, that have some type of wiggle to their game, right? Like if you got some speed, we're losing. Okay. We see that happening to him. We saw it happening to Meshack as well. And it happens too often to us. And sometimes we don't really stay engaged with with guys off the ball. So I think we've got to work on a couple of things. And I know that Coach Barnes is definitely going to get that fixed because he's a defensive minded coach. So we will get that fixed. I'm not too worried about it. But then we go on to Ziegler. He had 17 points. And I feel like it was 17 really big points. Now he did take some shots that you didn't love. And I could have said the same thing about DK. A couple of threes that I felt that he kind of forced, but at the end of the day, what I do like going into the tournament is the confidence to take those shots. So I am proud of Ziegler, especially, like we kind of talked about him stepping up. And I got to go back up here again so I can remember this guy's name, Shepard, right? So Shepard, who I think he's supposed to be like five NBA draft pick, if I'm not mistaken. He's going to be, an NBA player. But I mean, for ZZ to come in, step up, and to be able to lock him down the way that he did after literally, man, Shepard was killing us. Nobody could stop him. But ZZ steps up in a major way. So that's always a very big thing going into the tournament with the way that this team is built. We've got to play good, sound, fundamental defense. And we talked about Santi. He shot 5 times. I don't know what 5 shots he took. It seems like he only shot maybe once or twice, but he didn't score anything. So you hate to see that for a guy that, this is his senior night, but he can make up for it, right? And hopefully that's his mindset coming into it. I guess coming out of this is that, hey, I'm going to make up for this going into the tournaments. And, I'm going to be more productive as far as being a scoring threat. But let me see here. He had 2 rebounds, 4 assists, and he had 1 steal. I don't remember any of that stuff. It just seems like he was kind of, and I don't want to say that he was in the way, but it just kind of seems like he was a non-factor in this game. Now, Josiah Jordan James, who had 8 points, and we talked a lot about this. We said that him and Santi give us 8, okay? And if Santi would have gave us his 8, then we win this game today, okay? We would have came out on top. So those 2 players have got to be able to hit 8. But I love the way that Josiah Jordan James is playing right now. It's a whole lot of confidence. He had 10 rebounds. I mean, he was rebounding with authority. That's what I love to see. It's just the effort. It's the constant effort. And he played tremendous defense. I feel like he was locked down against everyone that he was guarding. He also had 2 assists. He had 2 steals, and he had 1 turnover. So I don't too much recall that turnover. And then Tobe Awaka had 0 points coming off of the bench. He had, what do we got right here? It looks like, is that 2? That's 3 rebounds. I guess it should be. Is this right? It should be 4 rebounds. I don't understand what's going on here. It says 1 rebound. Something's wrong right there. But I think that he ended up with 4 rebounds, 1 assist, and he had 3 steals. So he was doing a good job from that perspective. But we need everybody scoring. If you're going to come into the game, you have to be a scoring threat. Gainey, he shot a couple of, like crazy looking shots. He was actually 1 for 2, but what the biggest thing that stands out to me is just a crazy shot that he had put up. He ends up with 2 points. And then Meshack, I don't think that this was his best performance. Only 2 points. A lot of this stuff is so wrong. It's saying he had 27 rebounds, but I think that he only had 3. If he even had 3, and then 1 assist. I know that he didn't have 11 steals. So some of the stuff that we're looking at is most definitely off. But we didn't get to see JP Estrella come into the game. I just think that overall, man, we pretty much showed that we've got some things to work on. And again, I think this is good for us heading into the tournament. Now, the biggest question for me, like we kind of touched on earlier, is this going to be good enough for us to be a 1 seed? What do we have to do now in the tournament? Because kind of coming into this game, we said, hey, man, we win this game. Okay, we should be a solidified number 1 seed. Hopefully it's in the West. But then what are we going to do in the SEC tournament? Do we, kind of come in, maybe win 1 game and then say, okay, we're just going to go ahead and pack it in, and we're going to rest, and, we're just going to work on the little things that we need to work on heading into the tournament. But I think now we have to look at it a little bit differently, potentially. So we'll see how everything plays out right there. Now let's go ahead and get into a couple of chats right here. We've got Dwayne Mitchell says, why won't Barnes play a Waka more? He's the inside presence. Yeah, you know what? I think that in this game, I think that he played him enough. Like whenever he did come in, because we did see, I think we get maybe, I don't know how many minutes it is. I'm not even going to try to pretend like I know. It's somewhere around like 5 minutes, though, where it is Tobe and it's Jonas in there at the same time. I always said that I really like that matchup. But in a game like this, with a team that can score, you got to be careful with that. There was a lot of times that I saw Tobe in there, and I was like, man, dude, he's guarding guys out on the, he's guarding people out on the outside. I don't really like that matchup. So I think that he kind of got played enough. And right here, we've got Big Orange Vol. It says, go Lady Vols, finish them. I don't know what's going on with the Lady Vols. Somebody please fill me in. But yeah, I hope that they can do their things. I know that they've been kind of struggling throughout the season. And then we've got MLW Memphis says Gainey is giving us anything. Yeah, so Gainey isn't giving us anything. So he didn't give us a whole lot tonight. But I would say probably over the past maybe 5 to 10 games, he's been giving us a pretty good amount of stuff. So I'm not too upset with him. I mean, he's coming off of the bench. Yeah, I mean, he did need to give us more in this game, but I don't feel like he played as much. And a lot of that was because he didn't do a great job on defense. And it's that one really weird shot that he put up. And now I've got Big Orange Vol says, no, we lost at the buzzer. Yeah, I love the way that we came back at the end, and we really made that into a game. I think that that's another aspect of this is that we showed that fight, that dog, that grit, that we're going to do everything that it takes to win. And I also feel like whenever you lose like this, obviously never having really, played basketball, but if you lose a close game like this in football, I think that it kind of is it's consistent between all sports. You come back, okay, if you get the opportunity to come back, if you get to live another day, then you come back more focused, right? Like, so they'll probably get into the film session and all that stuff tomorrow, and they'll take a look at everything. And I'm sure that whereas, if they would have won this game, it would have been a lot more goofing off, a little bit more lackadaisical. Even the coaches, they tend to get more lax after a big win. And but coming off of a loss like this, especially at home, senior day, losing the way that we lost right there in the final few minutes, I think that everyone's going to be laser focused. And again, I think that that's good. It's good sometimes to get that loss out of the way, reset, refocus, because we've got a whole lot of wins coming up down the stretch. And I still feel very confident in what this team is capable of. Now, let's also get into Dirty Higgins. What's going on, Dirty Higgins? He's a member of the channel. And he says our first 12 minutes were garbage. The no calls, the no calls on fouls in the first half were bad too. Yeah, they were just kind of like letting everybody play, which I felt like would have played into Tennessee's hands a little bit more than Kentucky. And I would say, I don't know what the analytics are, but Kentucky probably played their best defensive game tonight. And it wasn't because we weren't necessarily efficient on offense. I just think that that goes to show what teams will bring whenever they're going up against a team like Tennessee. A lot of people are looking at Tennessee with the target. So we've got a big target on our back. And it's going to be that way in the tournament, especially if we get that one seed. It will be the first time in program history. So, again, I just think that there's a lot of positives to take from this loss. As crazy as that might be to say to some of y'all. Now, we've also got Juarez Gooden says Meshack needs to shoot more. He gets into the paint, but he passes the ball. Yeah, now that right there frustrates me. And I did see that a couple of times. I don't remember if that was just for Meshack. I think it was a time or two that JJ did the exact same thing where you get into the paint, you've got pretty much an open lane. You should take that shot. I want to see us being very consistent in taking the open shots. So if Meshack wasn't taking them, then that's definitely, that's something that needs to get corrected, and I'm sure that it will. And then right here, we've got Mucho Boomin says, man, get Harper out of here. Oh, my God. Out coached in 1 second. TF, I'm pissed, tired of her. Okay, so I guess there is a problem with Our Lady Vols. It sounds like we just lost that game again, y'all. I'm not up on that. And so I hate to hear that, but I'll check into the highlights and everything here in just a minute. Dwayne Mitchell says, I wish Connect would have tried that last shot that James missed. That's an excellent point. And I know that was the whole goal. I don't know if y'all missed this, but DK was coming off of a off ball screen on the baseline, and he slipped. He tripped and he fell. So ZZ had to go to his second option, which looked like that was Triple J. Triple J takes the shot. You love the confidence, for sure. But obviously, moving forward in the tournament, we want DK taking that shot. Again, just for me personally, okay? Because I'm looking at what really matters, and what really matters is winning the national title. And I think that guys getting that experience in those moments, it helps you moving forward, because it might end up being a situation where they say, the team that we're playing up against, if it's a last second shot situation, we're going to take away DK. We're going to double team him, and now Triple J's wide open. Well, he's got the experience now, having actually done that in a big game versus a really good team, in a tournament type of a game. And I think that he may be able to come out on top the next time. So you just got to kind of like look at everything. I would say glass half full, because it's definitely not half empty. Knowing that we did win the SEC, and we went to Kentucky, we went down to Lexington, and we mud stomped them boys. Okay, so it ain't like they had to come into Neyland, or not Neyland, but they had to come into TBA, and it took everything that they could possibly muster up to be able to beat us. Again, they had to scratch and claw all the way through the entire game to win. So I'm not too down, but y'all definitely let me know y'all's thoughts I just again, man, like we've got to try to take a look at what the bracketology says, and I want to take a look here really quickly at what. Let me pull this up for y'all because I do want to see what everything looks like as far as us being able to still get that number one seed. Okay, that's going to be important. And while I'm pulling it up, let me go ahead and read this from Dirty Higgins. It says, "I think you are right about this game firing up the team for the rest of the season. I still think we can win it all." I agree. I mean, like that's kind of like what I was saying, but yeah, I mean, I think if you look at Tennessee, I don't think that anyone, even outside of Tennessee fans, is going to be looking at Tennessee and saying, well, this is a team that has absolutely no chance to be a Final Four team or a championship team. I don't feel like people are going to be, really changing their perspective and their outlook on Tennessee as that caliber of team. I think if anything, us barely losing this one, knowing that it was like a get back game for Kentucky, and knowing that they've got so much talent, they've got so many NBA caliber players on their team, on their roster. I think that it may actually kind of solidify us, because we didn't get blown out, right? We didn't win, but it was a close game. So I feel like everyone should know that Tennessee is for real. Now, this is a big one. I think right here, Arizona versus USC. We talked about this some pregame. What's going to happen with this one? Okay. Right now, Arizona is favored by 7.5 points. The game is going to be at USC. It's in LA. I mean, Bray and I think P and Kaysen probably feel the exact same way. I like USC in this one. I think that USC has a good chance to win this. If Arizona does lose, then at the end of the day, I think that puts, especially if I think if they lose, period, it doesn't matter if they lose by 1 point, if it's an overtime, whatever. If they lose, I think that would pretty much automatically put Tennessee as a one seed over Arizona, and more than likely it would be in the West. So we still have a good opportunity to kind of close out on what we wanted to do, right? To be able to fulfill the, I would call it destiny of this team. I just think that everything kind of matches up well. I heard a few people talking about back in '98 when Tennessee won the national championship in football. That game was in Arizona, and the national championship in basketball will also be in Arizona. So things are lining up. We also, I mean, we've always played really good defense. What we've needed is a player that can score. We saw again, DK drops 40. And I feel like they did everything that they could to take away DK, but you love the way that he plays. It doesn't matter what team stored him, he's going to get his. So I love that. I love the way that the role players seem to kind of, be stepping up into their roles. Now, we talked about this before. We said that, hey, man, Santi's a guy that was coming on strong. We felt good with his confidence. He may have taken a step back tonight. Okay, we'll see how everything out at the end, but he may have taken a step back tonight. Let me go ahead and get right here to a super chat from Bro Regard. And they say, number one, we will win NCAA. Number two, can't shoot 36 threes and makes 24. Number three, calls should be in the box on cameras. Number four, Calipari is gifted. I don't know what that was. So I'm sorry about that. Number four, Calipari is gifted. I bet an average of 1.5 free timeouts per game. So I love that. Okay, I absolutely love it, and we're gonna go ahead and get into the super chat. Let me get this thing cranked up for you. My bad. Thank you so much for that, Bro Regard. Always appreciate the super chats. It really helps us out tremendously on this channel. But yeah, I think that you made a lot of good points right there. We've got to be a lot more efficient. And I think that we've got to do a better job of shooting good shots. And that's something that we talked about earlier, right? Like kind of later in the game, we saw some players kind of forcing those threes. You still want to be able to play within yourself and take some good shots. And we saw that with ZZ. He came down a couple of times and he shot some ill-advised threes. Like we'd be coming out of a timeout and just different stuff. And it was just like a bad look. There wasn't the right time for him to be taking those shots. But we also see that whenever we play really good defense, it turns into good offense. And there was a time I want to say that we got a steal, and then ZZ ends up wide open after we're moving the ball around, and then he takes that shot. Those are good shots, and that's what I want to see. I don't care where it is. as long as it's within a player's realm of being able to make the shot. If you're open, you need to take the shot. That's my biggest thing. Don't be passing up open looks, because if you play with that confidence, I think that ultimately helps the team to be able to win some of these tighter games. You just got to play with a whole lot of confidence, and I feel like for the most part we did that tonight. Again, if I had two players that I would call out, it would be Jonas Adu and it would be Santiago Vescovi. He's got to both of those two players have got to play consistently with confidence, and I didn't see a whole lot of that tonight. Now let me also get into Dwayne Mitchell. Officiating in the SEC has been inconsistent this year. Some refs call touch fouls, others allow players to get mugged. There was tremendous shoving early in the paint. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's not consistent, but I would say this, and again, never really having played basketball, I would just say that it seems like I could even say this just playing football. I think that it's probably pretty consistent from this point, that you can tell early on the way that the game is going to be called to play according to that, right? As long as even, that's all I really care about. I don't care how the game is called, just call it even, right? Call it fair. And then we'll find a way to win within whatever the frame of the game is. Like however the rules are going to be played and called, we'll play to that, right? And I feel like we have a team that can win however we have to. But again, I do feel like whenever they're not really calling those ticky-tack fouls, it plays more into Tennessee's favor, because I feel like we are a much tougher team, especially once we get outside of the SEC. And we'll see that going into the tournament, I believe. We'll see teams that we might get matched up against, like Big 12 type teams. It doesn't matter who it is. I think that the SEC is the most physical conference and league. So that favors our league versus everybody else, because we're used to playing that. Like that's how we play pretty much every single week. And us as, Tennessee fans, we have a target on our back for most of the year, especially with all the attention that DK's been getting. It's been a big target on his back, but on this entire team's back. And so we've gotten everyone's best. So we're just used to that game in and game out. And I think we'll always rise to that occasion. I wouldn't say that we got out physical in this game by any means. I would just say that Kentucky was the hotter shooting team. Something else that I had touched on, over the past couple of weeks with this basketball team. I don't know what the final percentage was that we shot in this game. I'm about to pull it up, but we were only shooting, averaging like 35% or something like that, and that's just not good enough. You know what I mean? Like we've got to be able to shoot at a much higher clip than that. And actually, let me go ahead and pull this back up for y'all, because I think that this is going to be pretty important for y'all to see. I want to have this graphic so that y'all can see what I'm talking about as I'm talking about it. So I'm not just blowing smoke. All right, so let's get it up right here. Okay, you can see that Kentucky up here shot 45.8% from the field and 51% from three. And we shot 37.8, which is actually better than what we have been doing. But we also were playing on the road, and now we're at home. 37.8% ain't going to get it done. And only 33% from three. I'm not too concerned so much about the 3 points. I think that that's fine. But the entire field goal percentage right here at 37.8%, that's got to get cleaned up. I mean, we got to do a lot better right there. Now, as far as rebounds go, it says that we had 37 and Kentucky had 42. I don't know how realistic that is, because if you look at some of these other stats and numbers, some of the stuff is skewed. Okay, I think that probably is right. So 37 to 42. So we continue to get out rebounded as well. We got to find a way to get that fixed. I mean, we absolutely have to. And again, man, I think that we will. That's just how I feel. I think that now there will be a much bigger emphasis on it. The coaches might have been trying to emphasize that, but whenever you're winning, it's kind of hard to say. The players don't really take to it as well. When you're winning and the coaches are kind of like, it feels like the coaches are nitpicking. But now I think that the players realize, hey, yeah, we got to step this up. So that's something that I'm looking out for in the tournament. I want to see us shooting at a higher percentage clip. Okay, I want to see players playing with confidence. I want to see us to be able to continue playing well on defense. I don't think that that's ever going to stop. And I also want to see us being able to do a better job in rebounding. I think that that's going to be very important. And I don't care if we want to lose these, SEC tournament games, but that's going to be the biggest things for me heading into the NCAA tournament. Now let's see what else we got. I'm just going to get to a couple more chats right here. We got Bro Regard says Dwayne knows, dude. 0 of 2 flagrant called in the game. Yeah, I did see a couple, man. Like I think it was DK like he's jumping up and he gets pushed in the air. To me, that should automatically be a flagrant foul. And that wasn't called, so that was most definitely missed. I don't know what the other one might have been, but you could probably just remind me down in the chat. And then Deborah P, what's going on, Deborah? She says this was the game down the stretch. I thought we might lose. Kentucky wanted revenge. I agree with that 1,000,000%. But I'm still very proud of the way that we was able to just kind of keep it close. You know what I mean? Like I'm not one of those everyone gets a trophy types of people, but you have to look at the big picture because this is not, I mean, this game is not the big picture. The whole thing for me anyway is being able to win a national championship. I think that this team is good enough to do it. And I think that we showed and proved that even if we, have some lulls, we're still going to fight. You know what I mean? Like we know how to come back. We know how to scratch and claw and, get ourselves back into a game. And we can also be clutch. I mean, we was clutch down that stretch. Okay. You can call it whatever you want to, but I feel like we was very clutch. The defense was locked down. People was knocking down, shots that we had to. Okay, those were critical shots in some big time moments. So I feel fine. I'm happy about this team. I'm happy about where we're going to end up at. It does suck that the seniors are going to be going out with a loss like this, but they can make up for it with the big time tournament run and with the big time championship. That's what I'm looking forward to. But that's going to be it for this one. I've got to run, y'all. I didn't want to come back, though, because I said that I would, but I've got to go get to some other things. But thank y'all so much for tuning into the channel. Please make sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, share with your friends, family, and other volunteer fans. And we'll see y'all in the next one. Thanks. Peace.